And I guess I have to keep a look at the waiting room to make sure I'm letting some other people in who might be joining late. So the first jewel is the jewel of the Buddha. The second jewel is the Dharma, the Buddha's teachings. And so today I'm going to share some of what I have learned over the years practicing Buddhism and studying Buddhism. And particularly, I want to open up the Heart Sutra. And some of you may be familiar with the Heart Sutra. It's a very short text or scripture in the Buddhist tradition that is said to contain like the essence of the highest wisdom that the Buddha taught. And it is recited and chanted around the world. And so I'm going to be sharing on that. That's the Dharma that I'm going to be sharing today. And then the third jewel is the Sangha, which is the community of practitioners. And that's all of us. That's all of us here. So I'm really grateful for us all being here. It's been coming to me more and more the past few weeks how important it is to feel and to surround ourselves with other people who are on the path. When we do this like kind of solo thing, it's like it's very easy for our mind to get off. But when we're constantly surrounding ourselves by other beings who are committed to practicing compassion, to awakening wisdom, and to embodying love, it's just so much easier to straighten ourselves out when we get lost. So this feels so beautiful that everyone is here together right now, and we're all adding our energy to this space. And my intention is to support myself and others in relieving our suffering and really being able to embody peace and embody love and embody joy. And so what I've found with this particular text is that there are some very potent teachings there that help alleviate that suffering. So I'd love to share that today. Just going to take a moment just to feel up, and we can all just center ourselves now, maybe taking a moment in meditation and just breathing together. So just finding ourselves grounded in this space, feeling ourselves gathering all of our own energy back to ourselves so that we're feeling in our own energy field. Even though we're sharing space, we're feeling ourselves, feeling grounded. You can send an anchoring cord down into the earth and just feel that connection with Gaia, just holding us all here. We're all on the same planet right now together, and we can just send our energy and our love down into the core of Gaia. And then from that core, we can really feel our connection. I feel us all just anchoring our light at different points on the planet. Feeling that grounding, feeling relaxation come over the body as we simply breathe. We just take a few moments just to calm the mind by focusing on our breathing, just feeling the in-breath going in through the nose and feeling the exhale through the nose or the mouth. Letting go of the day so far, letting go of what's coming after, and just feeling this openness. And the more we all open here together, the more this divine inspiration can just flow through us so that we can receive exactly what we need. Relaxing the mind, relaxing the body. Relaxing the spine. And beginning now to just drop the energy from the head and the thinking mind And drop it down, down, down into the heart space. Feeling the energy of the heart, this other field of intelligence that is so different than the mind. And just allowing that heart space and that heart field to open gently. And for your own heart energy to just infuse every cell of your body. So it's like you're giving yourself a hug with your own heart, with your own love, and with your own compassion. Just feeling every cell of the body being renewed by this heart energy and being renewed by every fresh breath that we're taking in and being renewed by every exhale as we release what we don't need. Just refreshing ourselves so that we can really be here. And I invite you all now to tune into your intention for being here, your intention for yourself, your intention for the world, so that we can just send that energy out and connect with all the guidance that is responding to our intention, that is responding to our sincerity. Okay. Again, if anyone wishes to share anything at any time, you're welcome to type in or to speak and use your voice, and then I'll respond to that. And otherwise, I'm just going to begin with what I have at the moment. So the Heart Sutra, that's the theme of this class. Hold on, this light. Okay. The Heart Sutra. So actually, many people think that the Heart Sutra is actually about the heart. And in a sense, it is. It touches on the heart space, of course, but really the heart in the title of the Heart Sutra really means the essence. It's like the center point. So the Prajnaparamita Heart Sutra is what is the essence of Prajnaparamita. So Prajnaparamita is the perfection of wisdom. On the Bodhisattva path, a Bodhisattva is a being who is dedicated to awakening, who is dedicated to relieving his or her own suffering and to relieving the suffering of all beings. So there are many, many Buddhist teachings stemming from the lineage of our historical Buddha, Shakyamuni, who lived around 400 BCE. So before Christ is when the Buddha was said to be alive and teaching. And he actually taught for many years. He didn't achieve awakening, full awakening, until his 30s. I believe it was 36. And then he went on to teach for another 30 or 40 years. And the teachings of the Buddha are very unique in the sense that he always adapted his teachings to the audience that he was before. He was a wandering teacher. So he would go from place to place, and those who wished to receive his teachings would offer food or offer lodging or offer things, and then he would move on to the next place. Usually during the rainy season in India, he and his Sangha, the monk that he was with, they would kind of hunker down in one location and stay there for the duration of the rainy season. I don't know exactly how long the rainy season lasted, but I'm guessing it was about maybe 7 or 8 weeks. Otherwise, he was wandering, teaching, and he was encountering so many different kinds of people from all walks of life, from like royalty to, people just on the street who asked to hear his teaching. So one of the wisdom teachings that the Buddha offers to us is the teaching of expedient means, which means that we are not to become attached to one teaching or one doctrine, but rather to be open and flowing so we can adapt the wisdom, so we can adapt the teachings of love to the person we're speaking to, rather than get attached to some idea. So many of you can now just think of examples in your life where you may have learned this lesson of kind of feeling like, okay, this is the way to go, whether it has to do with how to discipline yourself, whether it has to do with a daily routine, whether it has to do with food, whether it has to do with love and relationships. Sometimes because we so much want to relieve our suffering, we find a jewel or a gem and it works for us. And we begin over time, due to our mind's nature, to attach to it as the way. So one of the beautiful teachings of the Buddha is to not attach to those kind of ideas or concepts. And that's a main teaching in the Heart Sutra as well. So expedient means adapting our teaching and our sharing of wisdom to those that we are speaking to. So the Heart Sutra is a text that is, I would say it's guarded or infused with the energy of a bodhisattva, an awakened being that we call Guanyin, that we call in Sanskrit Avalokiteshvara. The Chinese is Guan Shi Yin Pusa. Pusa means bodhisattva. If you look at the characters of Guan Shi Yin, it means this is the awakened one who observes and hears the cries of the world, the suffering of the world, and responds. So this bodhisattva is such a cherished being for so many because of the great vow that this bodhisattva made to listen and to keep the heart open to hear the suffering and the cries of the world and to respond. So how is a bodhisattva able to respond to the suffering of the world in such a way that this bodhisattva does not exhaust its supply of compassion and energy and love? And the main reason, or the main wisdom that this bodhisattva and bodhisattvas in general have attained that allow them to be this inexhaustible source of compassion is their understanding of emptiness. And that is one of the main teachings within this Heart Sutra. So Guan Shi Yin, the bodhisattva who hears the cries of the world, this text, this Heart Sutra, speaks about what this Guanyin Bodhisattva awakened to when he or she was in deep contemplation, in deep meditation. And so the sutra opens by saying, Guanyin Bodhisattva, while practicing this perfection of wisdom and coursing in deep meditation, clearly saw that the nature of all phenomena are empty, thus overcoming all suffering. So what does emptiness really mean? Emptiness simply means that all phenomena, including the self, are empty of a separate self, a separate permanent self that can stand on its own. So really, this is a teaching about the interbeing or interconnectedness of all things. What Thich Nhat Hanh, who is a beautiful Buddhist teacher from Vietnam, what he teaches about becoming a bodhisattva is that, I'm looking at the passage here of him speaking about the bodhisattva. He says, when our true mind can see that there's no difference between self and other, then we are a bodhisattva, a fully awakened person. So we can just feel within ourselves how we go about our day-to-day and the different concepts and the different judgments that arise that create separation between us and the outside world. And what this Heart Sutra is teaching us is how to dissolve that sense of separation. And one of the main ways to dissolve this separation is to meditate on this teaching that all phenomena, all things, even what an individual is made up of, is empty of a solid, permanent, separate self and nature. And many people will think that emptiness, the concept of emptiness, is something nihilistic or pessimistic. But what our teachers, including Thich Nhat Hanh, teach is that it's actually a very optimistic teaching, because it actually allows us to feel connected to everything. It lets us know that we're actually not an island unto ourselves. And as I meditate on what is happening in our world, and just the way humanity has evolved with our mind beginning to become so dominant that it actually starts to disconnect us from our organic nature, from our heart energy, from the love energy, from actual living, other living beings. The heart becomes so dominant that it becomes like a machine. So that's what I've been observing, how humanity has developed, and it's brought us to this point where we are right now. And I feel like we're at a beautiful point in our evolution, where because of the outer circumstances that have been created by our internal working, we are at a place where it's like a precipice. I feel us at a precipice of great awakening. And that is why I've also been meditating that the human journey is such a courageous and brave journey, because we came here, from my understanding and experience, to transcend suffering and duality and separation through immersing deeply in it. So that is why, as we heal ourselves, as we release all this suffering and these programs of limitation from us, we have immersed ourselves in it so much. And that is actually why we can begin to unwind ourselves from it. We do it through our awareness. We do it through the light of our consciousness. But we wouldn't be able to do it if we didn't immerse ourselves in it, if we didn't come here to this plane of duality and do all these things, interact with all these people, evolve to such a place where such separation is created. In many cases, such hatred is created. But then when it buoys the other way, I feel like we just explode in love. We explode in this recognition of our non-separate nature, of our unity, of our oneness. So I just invite us to just feel this place that we are in. And actually what I feel about this understanding is that it helps us arise compassion for ourselves. Compassion for this journey that we're on, compassion as we witness all of the different afflictions that we carry, all the different woundings that we carry. We see, wow, what warriors we have been, doing this journey for all these generations. And now here we are carrying all the memory of our ancestors, all the beauty and the gifts that they share, but also all those challenges and painful experiences. That's all carried right here in this vessel. And through compassion and through wisdom, we are trying to find the right word. It's beyond healing. It's like a penetration. It's like a dissolving of all of this through our understanding, through our knowing. So Guanyin Bodhisattva, while coursing in deep meditation, awakened to the understanding that all phenomena are empty. When this sutra came to the world, around after Christ was born, about 100 or 200 years is when it started emerging. And there's translations of this text are found as early as the year 300 and 400. What I see this teaching of emptiness as responding to is that a lot of people, the path of awakening, of spirituality, including the tradition of the Buddha that had already been now carried down for about 400 years, they were beginning to get attached to the notion of they began to get attached to the teaching, the Buddhist teachings about suffering, the Buddhist teachings about liberation from suffering, the Buddhist teachings about aging and death, the Buddhist teachings about wisdom and attaining enlightenment. And so this sutra, actually what it does, I'm going to send you guys different translations of it as well as share here, but you'll see in this text, there's a lot of negation. So it will say there is no ignorance and there's no end of ignorance. There's no ending to aging and death. There is no suffering, there's no arising of suffering, there is no cessation of suffering, and there's no path to the end of suffering that the Buddha taught. They put a no behind, in front of each of these things, even to the point where the text, the sutra says, or Avalokiteshvara, Guan Yin says, there is no wisdom and there is no attainment. There's nothing to attain. And this is a teaching that I've been meditating on a lot recently, that there's nothing to attain. There's nothing to attain. And I feel that this wisdom has such a cooling effect on our being, because the way that we've developed up until this point and the way we're so connected now, but now through social media and through the internet, there's the same afflictions of humanity are just now running through these programs. And so it is through diligent practice that we are learning to use, this beautiful technology as a tool, but not to get lost inside of this energy that contains a lot of teaching, a lot of programs that actually throw us off from the path, that actually want to speak to the mind. And the mind is consuming. The mind is a consuming mind. It wants to gain, it wants to attain, it wants to become more and more. So much of the practice I see is how to empty the mind so that actually the heart does not get obstructed, the heart can come forth. And my favorite line of this sutra is that because the bodhisattvas have nothing to attain, their hearts are without any hindrances. The word is gua'ai, no hindrances, no obstacles to obstruct the heart. And because their heart is not obstructed, they have no fear. And that's the beauty. When our heart is not obstructed by a mind that is seeking to only gain more and more and more, when the heart is not obstructed by that, it has no fear. It has no fear. And so what Thich Nhat Hanh says about this little sutra, it's very small. I'll show you how small. I don't know if you can see that. So this is the Heart Sutra in the shape of a pagoda, which is a sacred building that would carry the relics of an awakened being or teaching of an awakened being. So this is the Heart Sutra, all contained just right here. So the Thich Nhat Hanh says that this sutra is a gift from Avalokiteshvara, from Guan Yin Bodhisattva, and what she gives or he gives is no fear. And so you'll see some statues of Bodhisattva Guan Yin with her hand like this, or the Buddha like this. And this is the mudra of fearlessness. And it's one of the three great gifts that a Bodhisattva shares with the world. The gift of no fear. It's literally one of the most beautiful gifts. So Thich Nhat Hanh says that this text offers us the gift of no fear through this understanding of emptiness. He says that Thich Nhat Hanh is from Vietnam. So when it was wartime in Vietnam, many people were seeking to escape escape on boats. So when they came to different places, they were known as boat people. And he said that many of the people, the Vietnamese people, fleeing for their lives, carried only one possession, and that was a heart sutra, because of its power to bestow fearlessness. And he also equates that with security or safety. So I'd love us just to take a moment now just to feel the energy of Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara and the wisdom that this Bodhisattva and all awakened beings, including ourselves, are awakening to. So I invite us to feel what it is like to meditate for just a moment on the idea that there is no separate self. There is no separate self that needs to be built up to become somebody, to be defended or protected. What would it feel like to realize this emptiness of self and therefore embody being all beings, being all things? It really does eliminate fear. So just breathing with that for a moment. And I also want to speak for a moment about the idea of birth and death. And what this teaching of emptiness actually says is that there is no being born and there is no dying. It's like a wave in the ocean. So a wave in the ocean appears to arise and be a thing that arises and then goes away. But really, this wave is part of one big ocean. So the wave, just like us, doesn't hold on to an idea of a me, of a separate self. It knows itself as part of this vast ocean that is made up of tiny drops of water in a vast ocean. And we can begin to just touch on that idea. Some of you may have already been penetrating this idea for many years. Some may be newer. So the idea that there is no independent self that is born, suddenly appears, and then dies and disappears. So here's the invitation to feel yourself as a drop in the ocean that creates a wave. And we're here, I can see you, you can see me. We're interacting with each other. But also, we're part of this massive consciousness, this one ocean of consciousness. How does it feel when we actually are able to recognize this wisdom and actually begin to operate our lives in this way? How would we go about our day-to-day with this recognition? How would we treat other waves if we really understood this? What I see immediately is that there's no more fighting. There's no more you against me. There's no more war. There is also then, with this wisdom, the arising of compassion. I remember a story that the Dalai Lama told when he came to the West and began interacting with a lot of Western, what are they called? Western care workers, workers who go to like disaster areas and they care for people, they help them, they give them food, supplies. And he began to hear many of them saying that they were fatigued, that they were tired, that they were exhausted. And this was an opportunity for him to share his understanding of what genuine compassion is. And as I said at the beginning, genuine compassion is inexhaustible because it flows out of a wisdom of emptiness. It flows out of a wisdom of non-self, of seeing the self as other. And so it's like this beautiful, inexhaustible treasure. And so he began to call what these Western workers were talking to him about as compassion fatigue. And what he said is that when we really understand the function of compassion, there's no fatigue because there's no me and separate you. So it's not like I am a savior, like speaking of the workers, I'm not going there and I'm saving beings, and these beings are needing to be saved. So many of these Prajnaparamita teachings, including the Diamond Sutra, it's another pretty short text, says a real bodhisattva has no conception at all that there are other beings in the world that need to be saved. And I just feel that as such a, again, a cooling, a cooling understanding. Because when we hold tightly to a conception that there's me and there's you, and I need to save you, or I need to be saved, it creates disturbances in the mind. When we come back to the knowing of the wave and the ocean, and we just flow with that, there's no such thing as compassion fatigue. That's something the Dalai Lama was teaching about, and I smile because he's so compassionate. And so I think I saw a video of him speaking of this, and he was like just smiling with such compassion at the idea that these beings who were dedicated, to helping others were getting so tired. And so with his smile, he just gave them this gift of, a deeper understanding so that they need not suffer as they help other beings. And that's a great lesson for us as well. If we are suffering in our work in the world and helping beings, it's only because we are attached to an idea that there are other beings to help and to save. And we are attached to an idea that there's something to gain, including a sense of self to gain and to become something. So when we let go of that idea, I just feel this water of relief, we can let go, and we can just be who we are, and we can just allow love to flow through us in a way that doesn't feel like an effort. So I'm just looking at the chat box, and if anyone wants to speak or say something. Yeah, Kathleen is saying it's huge for us empaths, like those of us who feel everything, and if we were born into the world and our senses are so open, I can really relate to this. We feel everything. And if we do not have the opportunity to touch this wisdom of emptiness and what real compassion is at a young age, we begin to just take on and to absorb everything. And actually we lose our center. And so much of what I see in the path of the healer, the path of the light worker and the empath is in a way to first develop a sense of self, but a small self. That's another one of my teachers. He says, your small self does need to be strong. When your small self is strong, then you can recognize the big self, this big self that is this one consciousness. So we also don't want to eliminate our sense of self so much that we enmesh completely with other beings' pain and other beings' pleasure, and we're just kind of tossed around that way. We do want to develop ourself, and there's so many teachings of all spiritual traditions, but definitely so many in Buddhism, how to come back to our center, how to begin to eliminate what the Buddha called the three poisons. The three poisons in the Buddha teachings are greed. So greed is that insatiable energy that wants to get more and more and more. Anger or hatred, that's that fire that arises, that separates. It separates and it destroys. And the third poison is ignorance or delusion. And it is ignorance to the true nature of things. which is something that the Heart Sutra teaches about, that the true nature of all phenomena is empty, which really means that it is full of everything. So I just want to tune in to what would be most helpful to share in addition. So we talked about compassion. We talked about the teaching of emptiness of a separate self. We talked about a bodhisattva. And we talked also about Guan Yin. Well, I want to share a little bit about Guan Yin, and maybe you can also share your experiences with Guan Yin, because I know many of you are here because you have this affinity with this bodhisattva of great compassion. So one of the first mantras I learned when I was young is Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. That's the mantra of Guan Yin. And then when I got older and I actually went to graduate school, my advisor was actually like a 75-year-old woman who looks like Guan Yin, and she wrote one of the main books, actually, academic books, but also has so much like wisdom in it on Guan Yin. And she actually talks about the transformation of Guan Yin over the course of history as Buddhism made its way across the planet, especially from India into East Asia, how the Bodhisattva actually transformed from a male figure or a more neutral figure like the Buddha, neither male nor female, to become feminized, to become more taking on the energy of the Divine Mother. So that's actually something that happened over time. So in the earliest texts where Guan Yin is mentioned, the Bodhisattva is neither he nor she. But I find it very interesting that in our evolution coming up until now, where we're seeing the return of the feminine, that Guan Yin is coming into Western consciousness more and more as well, and is seen as a feminine figure, a divine mother figure of great compassion. I would love to hear some of what you experience with this energy of Guan Yin, and I also want to share that my advisor, she told a story of when her grandmother was fleeing China during wartime. Her grandmother was about to go onto a boat, to go to safer shores, and all of a sudden, her grandmother saw a big image of Guan Yin Bodhisattva in front of her, and Guan Yin said, "Don't get on this boat. Don't get on this boat." And touches me. Her grandmother was, a practitioner and a devotee, and so when she heard and she saw Guan Yin saying, "Don't get on this boat," she listened, and she didn't get on the boat. And actually, the whole boat was actually capsized, and everyone died on that boat. So my advisor opens up her book with that story of this saving nature of Guan Yin. Someone I spoke to on this island recently, a few weeks ago, I was talking to him about Guan Yin, and he said that, "Oh yeah, Guan Yin has saved me more than once." So I just feel this beautiful salvific energy of Guan Yin. One of my teachers of meditation mostly, and a lot of my earlier exposure to Buddhism was through Master Sheng Yen. He was a teacher from China. He went to Taiwan, and then he split his time between New York and Taiwan. And he's also a devotee, practitioner of the Bodhisattva path, of course, and has a particular affinity with Guan Yin. And when he was seeking to acquire land for his retreat center in upstate New York, and it would seem like they were not able to find land, and he didn't know what to do. And so the story goes that he gathered a few hundred of his disciples and students and said, "We're going to come together and we're just going to sincerely invoke Guan Yin and sincerely share our pure intention to find this land for this retreat center, to actualize our vision, of helping so many. And so he did that. They had this ceremony, and they say a few days later, someone called, and that was the land that he ended up acquiring. And I've done quite a few week-long retreats at that center in upstate New York. It's in Pine Bush. It's called the Dharma Drum Retreat Center. So you can, if you ever go there, you can just feel that energy and just feel the response of all of these awakened beings who have come before us, whose energy is still here guiding us and responding to us. Just like in our lives, we respond to those that we help. It feels so beautiful to tap into this energy of these awakened beings who really hear the cries of humanity. Does anyone want to share something about their experience with Bodhisattva Guan Yin, or with meditation, or with any of these teachings? You're welcome to. So Diana is saying that one of the senses I feel from Guan Yin is the feeling of a mother's lullaby. Yeah, a calming energy, grounding and earthing. I feel her connected to the land and to children, and she is a soothing balm to my inner children. I feel that so much. And I feel like now is the time so many of us are diving even deeper into inner child work. I feel that it's because our mission of helping others is becoming more and more strong. And so as we seek to have our full power with us to serve in the world, we also see very clearly what is unhealed within us and what needs love within us. So inner child work is one of the most direct ways I know to go to those places that need love. And it transmutes love and compassion, transmutes these pains like the best medicine. So I feel that, Diana. Kathleen also says she feels that similar energy, that Guan Yin enwraps us in a beautiful light, rose-colored light. That is grounding and loving. Thank you. So as we tune into Guan Yin's energy, and if no one has anything else they want to share at the moment, no questions. No. Thank you, Diana. Diana has to go. Bela?
Yeah, I can share a little bit. It was my background is in Chinese culture, but I often didn't know the names of many things that I saw. I just saw these images, and I think in retrospect, I understand now that some of those images that I saw in my childhood was of Guan Yin, and specifically the form of her that has 1,000 arms and a bunch of different heads. And yeah, I just remember seeing her photo everywhere, not really knowing who she was. And I think there was something very powerful about this being that has so much to give. And I think now, as I'm feeling into that energy right now, it's not, I suppose the power is in that there is so much, but right now I'm feeling there's this power because it's adaptability, with this ability of having so many different arms and so many different heads to work with. There's just this nature to say, given this situation, this is the tool that I will use today. And yeah, just feeling that yeah, that there's also just in addition to this gentleness, there is that wise power that comes from her adaptability. And yeah, so just
wow, love that. Thank you. Yeah, that 1,000 arms and 1,000 eyes Guan Yin, so beautiful. I want to send some images of that and some videos. It's you guys haven't seen, I think it's in Thailand. These devotee dancers of Guanyin, they do the dance where there's many of them in a line, and then their arms are all moving this way, and so they together become like one Guanyin with all those arms. I love what you shared. Yeah, that is how, bodhisattvas are able to help so many, that adaptability, like so many different kinds of medicine. And because they're not attached to ideas, like this is the right way, this is the wrong way, this is the only way, because they're not attached to those concepts, they're so flexible, they're so flexible, and they can meet people where they are. Yeah, I love that. So speaking of this lullaby energy and this beautiful energy, my dear friend and sister Suli, she is going to help us invoke the energy of Guanyin more into the space, so that we can immerse ourselves in that energy, so that we can receive whatever medicine Guanyin wants to offer us, so that we can also awaken our own bodhisattva nature, our own Buddha nature. And yeah, I'm so grateful, Suli, you'll be lending your voice and your heart with us. So we can take maybe a little break first. And yeah, I invite us to just move into this meditative space also of receiving, maybe letting ourselves sink deeper into some of the gems that we may have clicked for us today, and just to receive whatever medicine it is that you need. So we'll come back in about 2 minutes, and then Suli will, with her voice, help us invoke Guanyin, and you're welcome to chant along if you like. You can keep your mics muted so there's not too much interference, but if you want to use your voice, that would be so beautiful. We can just all like add to this energy, and we can dedicate this practice to healing ourselves, and also to sending out this compassionate, loving energy to all the beings around the world that need it right now, all the beings that are suffering, all the beings that are crying for help. May our energy here together just reach them and give them solace and peace and love. So I'll see you guys in a couple of minutes.
Stephanie, how do you spell Guanyin?
Oh, so people spell it in different ways. I spell it with a G. I mean, it's a Guanyin, Guan. Some people say Kuanyin. I've seen it Quanyin. That is an English transliteration of the Chinese, which is Guanyin or Guanshi. In Japanese, it's Kanon. So you may also see Kanon. The Sanskrit is Avalokiteshvara. I'll put that there. That's the Sanskrit if you want to look into the etymology of that word.
Thank you.
Yeah. There's also a lot of connections. If you read the book of my teacher, her name is Junfang Yu, book on Guanyin. She talks about some of the linkages between Guanyin and Mother Mary, because a lot of the iconography of Guanyin is very similar to that of Mother Mary. So you can see how the wisdom traditions were crisscrossing, as both religious practitioners, but also merchants, were trading along the Silk Road. So that East-West Silk Road, a lot of obviously the ideas about liberation and love and compassion were being shared, and also the artwork and the depiction of these energies were being shared. So I definitely see like that linkage between Guanyin and Mother Mary. I remember being at a church in France a few years ago. I think it was France or maybe it was Italy. And Our Lady Star of the Sea, which is, one form of Mother Mary. Like I think, as far as my understanding, Mother Mary was also known as a protector of seafarers and those who were facing the perils of the ocean. And Guan Yin very much became that figure in China and Japan as well. So all these towns on the next to the ocean will always have, or many times will have, temples devoted to Guan Yin as like a protector of those going out to sea.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I also want to say something about the Heart Sutra mantra at the end, because this is such a short text, and what makes it even shorter in a way is that the whole text teaches about emptiness, and then it says that at the end it says, therefore know that prajna paramita, the perfection of wisdom, is an all-powerful mantra. A mantra being a set of syllables that contains the spiritual essence of a being or of a gem of wisdom. And so the sutra, at the end of the sutra, takes everything that it shared about emptiness and no death, no attainment, no fear, all that stuff, and it condenses it into a mantra. And it says, this is the mantra to recite. This is the unexcelled mantra. There's no greater mantra to this. This is the unequaled mantra. This is the mantra that dispels all suffering. It is true and it is not false. Therefore, you should or can proclaim this mantra as thus. And then the mantra is Gatte, Gatte, Para Gatte, Para Samgatte, Bodhisattva. And it, boom, it contains it there. Sometimes there's been a couple of times where I channel Guan Yin and I recite this sutra, and then I get to that last line and can feel all the potency of that energy just right there in that mantra. So I will send you links for you to like really dive into this sutra if you like, and it may open many doors for you. And there's also the Dalai Lama reciting this mantra. Maybe I'll play him for a moment. Okay, it's not showing, but I'll send you the link to the to the Dalai Lama just reciting Gatte, Gatte, Para Gatte, Para Samgatte, Bodhisattva. And there's different translations of it, but what it means is gone, gone, gone beyond. And I think it's beyond all ideas and conceptions of separation, gone beyond to the other shore. And Thich Nhat Hanh translates the next line as everyone, some meaning everyone or all beings gone to the other shore. Bodhi is awakening, awakening, and swaha is like a stamp of joyful exclamation, like hallelujah. Gatte, gatte, para gatte, para samgatte, bodhi swaha. Gone, 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 gone to the other shore. All beings gone to the other shore. Awakening, hallelujah. Okay. So would anyone else like to share something before Suli begins? Oh, Kelly says, I think Plum Village and Blue Cliff have a version that they recite with this mantra. Yes, beautiful. Yes, those are Thich Nhat Hanh places, Plum Village and Blue Cliff. And I'll also send you different versions of the Heart Sutra. It's so beautiful. Like there's a Sanskrit version you can listen to. the Chinese version, the Japanese version, the Tibetan version, and they're all so beautiful. And you'll hear the mantra at the end. Usually it sounds pretty much the same. In Chinese, it's instead of gate gate, it's jie di, bolo, jie di, bolo, sung jie di, hu ti sa po ho. That's how the Chinese sounds. Okay. So welcome, Sui. Thank you so much for being here, and welcome to also, ease us into this in any way. If there's any additions you want to share about your experience with Guan Yin, with this recitation of her name, just feel free.
Thank you so much for having me, everyone. So nice to be here with you all. I would like to share a little experience I've had with this particular chant that I am about to share. This chant is in Chinese, and it's been in my life since I was a child. And it wasn't very, it's not like something that was played in my home or anything, but when I was 13 years old, my grandmother passed away, and it was a very, very, very sad time for me because, she took care of me, and she was my playmate, my first love, the person who introduced me so much, this compassion and love that I received from her was just immense. And the day of her funeral, I remember, I was 13, and I got like my first period ever. I was like, what is this thing that's coming out of my body? But that was also the day that for 24 hours or more, because in the Chinese Taoist funeral, we have the funeral usually lasts for at least full day or more. So there was only one thing that kept playing in the background, and it is this chant. And the words are the following: Namo Guan Shi Yin Pusa. And it just means the name of this Bodhisattva, Guan Shi Yin. And I feel like this has held me as I enter into womanhood for the past however many years now. So I hope you will chant with me, and you can chant in your heart, you can chant out loud to use your voice to invoke the love that is within us, and that is also offered through this figure, Guan Yin. I'm using my Shruti box to help me, and feel free to place one hand over your heart as you chant. Let's take a couple of breaths together. Namo Guan Shi Yin Pusa. 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 Namo Guan Shi 萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨。 Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, everyone. And in the Buddhist tradition, we dedicate the merits or the fruits of our practice in a gathering like this to the liberation of all sentient beings. So if you like, you can just feel yourself here and now and just feel the gifts that you have received as well as the gifts that you are. And feel that all of these gifts that we have received and that we are, we in turn share them. So if there's a particular place in the world that you want to send the merits of this practice to, if there's a person in need that you want to send the merits of this practice to, feel that dedication from your heart, that you share the blessing with others, with all beings. But if you like, you can particularly send this energy to a region, to a person, and to the whole world. Dedication of merit. May our love, may our compassion reach every corner of the planet. Thank you for being here. May this love and compassion also nourish our own hearts and give us the energy and the courage that we need to continue on this amazing, beautiful human journey that we're on. Thank you all so, so much. Aloha.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I'll send the recording. I'll also send a whole bunch of resources. Love you all.
Thank you. So beautiful.
Emmanuel.
Bye.
Sean, Jana, Sean, Heather, Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Julie. That was beautiful, magical.
Thank you, Steph.
Thank you so much. Lovely.
Hi, John.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, David. Aloha. Blessings.
Thank you, Stu.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Love you, Sam.
Thank you so much.
Aloha.
Thank
Take
you.
care. I send some of that energy from Hawaii. Send some of that beautiful weather everywhere, please.
Definitely.
Thank you.
The ocean, the dolphins, the whales, the flowers, the aloha. Sending it all across the world. Yeah. Thank you, David, for being a
Thank
pillar
you.
of holding it down.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
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 Bye, Manuel. Thank you. Julie, thank you so much. I love you. Really appreciate you. Talk to you soon.
Yes.
Okay, bye.